Venus flytrap. Venus flytraps are the famous one, mostly because they look like a plant trying to invent a bear trap. The Venus flytrap, or Darlingtonia muscipula, is native to a small area of the Carolinas in the United States. Its habitat is mostly wet, lots of sun, and poor nutrient soil. The soil is bad enough that insects become useful. Each trap is actually a modified leaf. Inside are tiny trigger hairs. When an insect touches those hairs in the right pattern, the trap snaps shut. The cool thing is that it does not usually close from one random touch. That would be an expensive waste of energy, because rain, dust, or just a falling leaf could set it off all day. The plant will respond to repeated stimulation before fully committing, meaning the bug must knock the door twice to confirm its own death. Once prey is trapped, the flytrap seals the leaf and releases digestive juice. The insect gives it nutrients, especially nitrogen and phosphorus, which are hard to get from the poor soil. And the strange thing is, this famous snaptrap has an underwater cousin, water-wheel plant. Let's see what happens when a Venus flytrap goes underwater. The scientific name is Aldrovanda vesiculosa. It is a rootless, aquatic carnivorous plant that floats in shallow and clean water. Historically, it has been found across parts of Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia, but many wild populations have disappeared or become rare because apparently, even tiny underwater flytraps cannot escape human habitat damage. Well, just a Venus flytrap that swims basically, but don't underestimate this guy. Its traps are tiny, only a few millimeters long, arranged around the stem like little wheels. That's where the names come from, although small. But Aldrovanda's trap can snap shut in about 10 to 20 milliseconds. That is roughly 10 times faster than a Venus flytrap. For tiny aquatic animals, this plant is Cthulhu, but not every carnivorous plant snaps shut. A few does something slower and meaner. Sundew. Sundew are plants in the genus Drosophyllum, and they are found across much of the world, with species on every continent, except Antarctica. They do not look all the same. Few grows like tiny rosettes, some with long sticky leaves. Some are tuberous sundews that survive dry season underground. So sundew is not one plant shape, it's a whole group built around the same basic trap. The shared weapon is a leaf surface. The leaves are covered with tiny tentacles, tipped with shiny drops of mucilage. Mucilage is basically sticky plant glue to an insect. Those droplets can look like nectar or dew. Some sundews slowly bend their tentacles or leaves around the prey. Not every sundew does it dramatically. Some movement is subtle, some is just glue doing glue things. Then the plant releases enzymes and absorbs nutrients from the trapped insect. Pinguicula. Pinguicula looks like an innocent succulent until you notice the corpses. Pinguicula, or butterwort, is found mostly across the northern hemisphere, with many species in North America, Europe, and especially Mexico and Central America. Pinguicula grows in bogs and wet meadows. Other grows on rock faces or in seasonal habitat. The group is more varied than it looks. The trap is simple. The leaves look smooth, greasy, and harmless. Insects land on them and get stuck to sticky secretions on the surface. Some butterwort leaves may curve slightly around prey, but the main strategy is just being a flypaper. Fun fact, a few pinguiculas can change form with the season. A few Mexican species grow sticky carnivorous leaves during the wet growing season, then switch to compact, succulent-like leaves during the dry season. Bladderwort. Bladderworts are strange because the part you notice first is usually not the part chosen killing. They belong to the genus Utricularia, one of the largest genera of carnivorous plants. Many Utricularia look delicate. They can send up tiny purple, yellow, or white flowers. If you only saw the flowers, you probably wouldn't guess that. They are hiding some of the fastest traps in the plant kingdom. They are found across much of the world, in freshwater, wet soil, peat, and damp mossy habitats. A few species float underwater, some species live in soaked ground, some grow as epiphytes in wet tropical places. Bladderwort catches tiny aquatic animals like water fleas, larvae, and as a small organism. They trap a tiny hollow bladders, usually hidden below the surface or mixed into the wet growing medium. The plant pumps water out of the bladder, creating negative pressure inside. Near the trapdoor are sensitive trigger hairs. When the tiny animal touches them, the doors open immediately. Water rushes in, and the prey is pulled inside with it. All of that can happen in milliseconds. In some studies, the suction phase lasts around 9 milliseconds. That makes Utricularia one of the fastest plant traps known. Sarracenia. Sarracenia is a North American trumpet pitcher plant, mostly native to the eastern United States and parts of Canada. Many grow in sunny bogs, wet savannas, and nutrient-poor wetlands, places where the soil is not offering a 5-star buffet. The pitcher is a modified leaf shaped like a tube. Insects are attracted by color, scent, and nectar around the opening. Inside, the surface can be slippery. Some species have downward pointing hairs that make climbing out even harder. At the bottom, fluids collect the prey. This is a pitfall trap. The plant does not need to move, it just needs the insect to go a little too far. Digestion can vary. Some Sarracenias use their own enzyme, and in some species, the breakdown of prey depends heavily on bacteria and other organisms living in the pitcher fluid. The pitcher is often more like a tiny swamp ecosystem with very bad customer service. Nepenthes, pitcher plants did not evolve only once. In the tropics, the same basic idea becomes hanging cups, but Nepenthes are not just cups. Some are giants, some have toothy mouths, and some are having questionable relationships with animals. Nepenthes are tropical pitcher plants, mostly found across Southeast Asia, with species also in places like Madagascar, India, northern Australia, and nearby regions. The pitcher is usually formed at the end of the leaf tendril. The rim, called the peristome, can become extremely slippery. Insects are attracted to nectar and visual cues. They will step onto the rim, lose grip, and fall into the fluid below. The prey will drown inside and then break down through plant enzymes, microbial activity, or both, depending on the species. Nepenthes is not a one-trick pony. Some species lean into animal relationship. A famous example is Nepenthes lowii. This plant collects shade from tree shrews or other animals. The animal gets nectar, the plant gets nutrients. That also does not mean every Nepenthes is a toilet plant. Some of you might remember the clip where a huge Nepenthes truncata catches a mouse or other small vertebrate. That could happen, but it is not the normal daily meal. Most Nepenthes are still mainly catching insects and other small animals. Cephalotus. The full scientific name is Cephalotus focularis. It is native to a small region of southwestern and western Australia. This is not another Nepenthes or Sarracenia. This plant is its own separate pitcher plant lineage. The pitchers are small, squat, and often beautifully striped. They sit low to the ground in a clump of leaves. Prey is attracted to the pitcher opening. They slip inside and get trapped in fluid. The cool part is, Cephalotus is not closely related to Nepenthes or Sarracenia. That means different plant groups in different parts of the world faced a similar problem and arrived at a similar solution. Cobra lily. The cobra lily does not just trap insects. It lies to the eyes. The cobra lily, or Darlingtonia californica, is native to Northern California and Oregon. It grows in wet, cool, seeping habitats, often with cold water around the roots. It is related to the North American pitcher plant, but it looks like the weird cousin that came to the family reunion wearing a snake costume. The pitcher has a hooded top and a small entrance. Insects enter the trap, often attracted by nectar, but once inside, everything becomes confusing. The hood has translucent patches, almost like false windows, to an insect, so bright spots can look like exits. So instead of finding the real opening, it falls deeper into the pitcher. Heliamphora. These are the sun pitchers, native to the tepuis of northern South America, especially remote tabletop mountains, in places like Venezuela, Guyana, and nearby regions. The habitat is part of the appeal. They grow in exposed, wet, nutrient-poor highland environment, where the scenery already looks like a Lost World documentary. Their pitchers are more open than many other pitcher plants. They collect rainwater and trap small insects. Many species have a little nectar spoon near the top, which help lure prey into the pitcher opening. The digestion is not the same across the whole genus. A few Heliamphora may rely heavily on bacteria and other organisms in the pitcher fluid to break the prey down. A few species show stronger evidence of producing their own digestive enzyme, especially Heliamphora tertii. Carnivorous bromeliad. Bromeliads are the plant family that includes pineapple, air plant, and a lot of tropical houseplants. Most bromeliads are not carnivorous. Your pineapple is not plotting against you probably. But here's what happens when your pineapple gets hungry. Brocchinia reducta. Brocchinia reducta grows in the Guyana highlands of northern South America. In wet, sunny, nutrient-poor places, the roots can anchor it, but the soil is not giving it much. Instead of building a normal leaf rosette and accepting poverty like a respectable plant, Brocchinia reducta turns itself into its steep leaves form a tall cylinder that holds water. The inner surfaces are slippery and waxy. Insects land on the plant, lose their grip, slide down into the central pool and drown, and the plant can absorb nutrients through specialized structures on its leaf. Genlisea. Genlisea, or corkscrew plant, grows in wet tropical or subtropical habitat in parts of Africa, Central America, and South America. Above ground, they can look like small harmless plants with simple leaves and little flowers, but the deadly trap is below the surface. Genlisea does not have normal roots in the usual way. Instead, it produces pale underground leaves called rhizophylls. These leaves act like traps and root substitute at the same time, because apparently doing one job was too relaxed. The traps are twisted, fork-tubed, often described as corkscrew trap or lobster pot trap. Tiny organisms in wet soil or shallow water enter the opening, then move inward through a narrow passage lined with inward pointing hairs. Those hairs make forward movement easier than backward movement. Their prey is microscopic, protozoan, tiny soil animals, and other microfauna. Recent research also shows that movement into these traps is more active and complex. Triantha occidentalis. It looks like a kind of suspicious white flower you would walk past without suspicion. The plant is also called Western False Asphodel. It grows in wet, nutrient-poor habitats. It has white flower on an upright stem. It looks like a normal little wetland flower, minding its own business, which as usual was a lie. In 2021, researchers reported that Triantha occidentalis represents a newly recognized carnivorous plant lineage. The sticky hairs on its flowering stem can trap small insects, and the plant can also absorb nutrients from them. The weird part is the location of the trap. The sticky stem sits near the flower. That sounds like a terrible idea, because flowers need pollinators. Murdering insects near your reproductive organs is a crazy idea, but the plant seems to catch mostly small insects, while larger pollinators can still visit the flowers. Byblis. Byblis looks like a Sundew's prettier cousin. These are often called rainbow plants because their sticky leaves can sparkle in sunlight. Most Byblis species are native to Australia, with some found around nearby regions, depending on the species. The trap looks familiar if you've seen the Sundew. The leaves are covered in glandular hairs with sticky droplets. Insects land, get stuck, and become a nutrient source. But Byblis is not just another Sundew with better branding. It belongs to a different plant group. This plant just arrived at a similar looking trap, and its digestion has been debated for a long time. Scientists debated how much Byblis digested prey on its own, and how much came from other organisms living around the trapped insects. More recent research on Byblis Triphyophyllum indicates that it can produce digestive enzyme after prey capture. Apparently, if insects keep landing on things, evolution keeps reinventing glue. Drosophyllum. Now, most carnivorous plants make people think of bogs, wetlands, and soggy soil. Drosophyllum or dewy pine does not fit in the image. It grows in dry, open habitats around the Western Mediterranean, including Portugal, Spain, and Morocco. This is a dryland species with another sticky trap. Its narrow leaves are covered in glistening sticky droplets. The plant can smell sweet, which helps attract insects. It feels kinda wrong because carnivorous plants are supposed to be wetland weirdos. Dewy pine did not get that. It found poor soil in a dry habitat and chose glue. And there is Triphyophyllum, a rare liana from tropical West Africa. This plant does something even stranger. It can become carnivorous only when it needs to. When phosphorus is low, Triphyophyllum can produce special sticky leaves that trap insects. When that pressure is gone, it can go back to making ordinary leaves. This is just a plant with carnivorous mode, and at the end of the day, for carnivorous plants, the insect is not dinner, it's just fertilizer with legs.